unbelievable.
Let's take a look at TVJ's live radar. This is coming from Miami, and what can you tell us about this, Laura?
Well, you can see those bands again, the darker green and of course the yellow. That's all the intensity is. There's Miami, the orange area, of course, that's because of the center of their radar. The sweep line, you can pick it out there. But look at those yellow banding lines. They're headed that way, and definitely our current readings now have that storm about 75 miles east of Miami.
The red we just saw on the screen, if we can get the radar back up, the red area is about where Gary Tuckman was reporting from. Can we see the,
that's right.
the
That's
radar
the
from
center
Miami
of their
again?
radar. That is the center of their radar.
There it is. That's about where Gary Tuckman was reporting from. You saw how severe it was at the time, and the storm then was 100 miles offshore.
He probably has another good 2 to 3 hours, and that's about it left before that eye comes over. But he'll probably be out of there any moment because, again, the winds are continuing to pick up the force of the water. The water is what's going to start to have the impact now of this storm over Miami.
Well, let's head on down there. I see Brian Norcross and Kelly Craig are discussing the current situation in Miami. So let's go back to TVJ and pick up the audio as well.
The wind speeds over on Miami Beach because they happen to have, that's where they get the reading. It's an automatic system they have at the Hurricane Center to read the winds on Miami Beach. So we'll see if that dark green is really impacting there. The fascinating thing here is, look at Broward County. You see a few little flecks of dark green there, but you don't see significant areas of dark green. And notice in Howendale in southeastern Broward County, it's light green, and that's why there you go. You see it right at the Dade-Broward line. You see where Howendale is in the extreme southeastern corner of Broward County. It's all light green, and that's why Dave Bloom up there is not getting the bad weather right this moment.
Well, you can see it's well past Nassau at this point.
Right, Nassau, the weather's ended. Well, their top winds were 85 miles per hour because they were on the bottom side of the storm. So remember, the top side of the storm is the worst side of the storm for a couple of reasons. One is because of the way it's rotating around, so that's sort of the going inside of the storm. The other is that the winds are additive there with the forward speed. So if the forward speed is 15 or 17 miles an hour and the winds are 130 in the storm, the total is going to be 145 on the top, where on the bottom it's going to be subtractive, so the total on the bottom is going to be 115. So you'd have a swing there, 30 miles an hour, top to bottom in the storm. Stronger on the top of the storm, weaker on the bottom of the storm, because the storm is moving forward at the same time the winds are blowing. And that's why we say the right side, or the top of the storm, is the strong side of the storm.
We promised earlier that Bob Sheets would be along in just a couple of minutes. He's taking a break, a well-deserved break, and he'll be along at the top of the hour, as he has always been throughout this.
All right, well, at 2 o'clock it was, let me confirm to be sure that I'm not misstating here, 60 miles, right, 60 miles and moving about 15 or 17 miles per hour. So we're talking actually now before 6 a.m. or on the order of 6 a.m. For the eye to arrive. And obviously we're very close to getting the strong winds out there now. Here at 3 o'clock, we'll find out what the reports are coming off of Miami Beach and the other places. But interestingly, and this is the way it is, some of the worst weather we've had so far has been up at West Palm Beach.
And now, how long can we expect the eye to stay with us?
Well, the eye on the order of 20 miles wide, so it looks like to me we're going to, it's about an hour or maybe a little less, but that's only the center of the eye since it's a circle. The place where that center goes by is going to have the maximum amount of time, and the closer you get to the top and the bottom of the eye, obviously the less time you'll have. So if this eye indeed looks like, you know what we need to do is, maybe we can rotate one here. I wanted to see if we can look at a Dade County map here.
While you're looking for that, I want to remind the folks that...
I'll tell you what, let me go in and get my Dade County map, and I'll be right back, and we've got lots here to keep you busy.
Indeed I do. You should see this desk. It's a mess. We want to reiterate that, if you lose power, if you don't have any electricity and you can't use your television anymore, if you don't have a battery-operated television, please, we are simulcasting on Y100. That's 100.7 on your FM dial. And again, please tune us over. We will be staying with them throughout the storm. So please, 100.7. And I want to remind you of a couple things. We've had so many calls into the station. People are wondering about animals, say at Metro Zoo. We were told hours ago before this came in that Ron McGill, the curator of Metro Zoo, assured us that the animals are in good shape. They are put into vaults, underground vaults, and there are plenty of food and water for them. They are safe. The airport shut down officially at 11 o'clock tonight, but we understand there are 2,500 people there. They were either stuck there, they were going out tomorrow, or they were coming in here and they were too late for the cruise ships. All of the cruise ships out of government cut have gone out. And Brian, you actually say that's sort of a safe place to be, because as long as they got out early enough, and they did, I think most all of them were out by 4, that the captains just steer around the storm.
Yeah, I mean, they had plenty of time, and those people, you know, some people have a lot of experience with hurricanes and some people don't, and the people that run the cruise lines obviously are not going to put their ships as well as their passengers and their crew in any kind of peril. So, so we're not really concerned about that. I want to locate where we are on the map. Unfortunately, my famous Dade County map, which is not in the best of shape.
A little well-worn.
I know, but we use it a lot.
Yes, so, you do.
So we're talking about, it looks like to me, the based on that, just looking at the map there on the radar system of the storm coming in this Perrine Cutler Ridge area right in here. Let me just examine the map as we look at it here a second. Unfortunately, I don't have on this map. I'll tell you what, Kelly, you talk about something else, and I have another map in there. Let me go get.
Okay. Julie, you had just asked me, our producer had just asked me to pass along some information. What was that? Right. Okay. What she is telling me is that we have a Hurricane Andrew hotline set up here at Channel 4. The number is 789-4362. Again, 789-4362, Hurricane Andrew hotline. If you have any particular questions and you're having trouble getting through to some of the other emergency numbers, by all means, call us here at the station. Needless to say, the phones have been ringing off the hook, but we are more than happy to help you. And again, no question is too inane to ask. If you have questions, especially if you're weathering this thing alone.
This is Bob Hyde at News Watch 8. You're watching live coverage from WTVJ in Miami. Kelly Craig and Brian Norcross, the meteorologist, chief meteorologist at WTVJ. Just so if you're just tuning in, you understand that you're not picking up WTVJ directly as a result of some unusual atmospheric phenomenon brought on by the storm. We'll now return to the audio portion and find out what Brian Norcross has found out for us.
Is the top end of LA Key and Sands Key there. And so clearly the center of the eye appears like it's going to come across right there, and that would take the center of the eye right between Cutler Ridge and Homestead. And if we figure that the eye is 20 miles across, and very conveniently my scale here on this map is 20 miles, and that would actually make it 10 miles across, right? So the top of the eye, if we use this as a gauge, the top of the eye is going to be Coral Gables Kendall. That's going to be the top edge of the eye, and that's going to put the band. They're asking me if I want to do this over here at the big set, but before we make moves with the camera here, we'd have to make an adjustment to our hurricane preparations in here. So let's hold off on that in a second, but because I think everybody understands these locations we're talking about. The top of the eye, it would look like Kendall would be as far north as would get, we're talking about when I say Kendall, I mean South Miami part of Kendall, where the Dayland Mall is, would be approximately where the top edge of the eye would be. So that would put the Coral Gables, Coconut Grove area under the strongest part of the winds. But also what that would do is mean that the strongest winds would be able to push the water right through the opening in Biscayne Bay, south of Key Biscayne, and north of Elliott Key. You know, there's the big opening to the bay there, as I said, right where Stiltsville is. So what that means is that in some ways is the worst case situation for driving water up into Biscayne Bay. And what happens is the water goes in and then goes both north and south. When it goes south, it goes down, and you see all this area down here. You can see how it's a lot of Everglades, and see how low all that area is, and that's why South Dade was evacuated all the way back, all the way across the state, as a matter of fact. All of South Dade was evacuated south of Quail Roost Drive. So because, again, just looking at the map there, I understand the MIA is sort of blocking part of the map to the north, but if you take the center of that eye and you take it directly west, and then you go just north up to the top of the eye, take the top of the eye and go directly west, it's in that opening there in Biscayne Bay, and then the water, once it gets pushed in the bay, has to go out somewhere. And the way it goes out is it floods in extreme southern Dade County, and then it goes up the Miami River and pushes up into northern Dade County. So from a storm surge standpoint in Biscayne Bay, that's about the worst place that we could imagine having a hurricane.
We understand that we have a call from Hialeah Gardens on our hotline. Can you hear me?
Yes, hello. This is Brian.
Yes.
How you doing? This is John calling from Hialeah Gardens.
Hi, John.
How you doing? I would like to know, because we're hearing out about the hurricane over here, but about it coming over here. But what happened to the Bahamas? Any reports from over there? What's going on?
Well, yeah, we've had Ed Odell over there all day. Has been reporting to us. They had in Nassau, they had top winds of 85 miles per hour. We don't have any good information out of Eleuthera, where the eye actually passed over the northern end of Eleuthera, because we do know that we have had some fatalities in the Bahamas, but...
there are published reports that 4 people have died. However, Ed had told us that that was not confirmed. He said there was 1 confirmed death in Eleuthera, but of course, this is very preliminary at this point.
Because we don't have communications with Eleuthera, I'm sure, and the power, as we were talking to Ed, the power was out in Nassau, and it was coming on and going out, and lines were down and everything else. So if the power lines are down, we know that the telephone lines were down. So I don't think we really know what exactly has happened there yet. But the top winds in Nassau were 85 miles per hour. And again, the reason that was lower than what we're talking about here in the 130 mile an hour, 140 mile an hour range is because they were on the south side of the eye, and the eye missed them by maybe 50 miles.
Right.
To the north. So those are the only reports we have at this time.
Yeah, because I was wondering, what's going on over there. And there was one of the reporters over there, too. He was, hanging out at one of the hotels. I'd like to know if he's all right or,
Well, our reporter is
We're watching live coverage from our sister station, WTVJ in Miami. Brian Norcross and Kelly Craig, a face familiar to many Bay Area viewers. I'm Bob Height. Good morning. The storm